Igor and myself, we visited 0100 conference in Milan. So I think we wanted to share with the audience our experiences and impressions, what we saw, surprises. What is like your recollection?
No, I think it was a great conference organized by 0100. It's not too big, not too small, kind of a lot of interesting people, including institutional investors, high net worths, and family offices. I think that was a great crowd, kind of to communicate.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was quite a vibrant event and interesting ideas and trends coming out of it. Something to definitely take home, especially as we're finishing a busy year here and looking into
Yeah.
the next year. In terms of interesting, like, I don't know, what if you think about the trends and discussions, like what is, like, one of the key topics or themes that is you've seen coming up.
Yeah, I think the Italy itself is getting very interesting. Kind of more and more startups. The ecosystem is like waking up, and I think it's also interesting to see that they're not only focused on Italy but also outside, and this is particularly interesting for us, I think. Also, people increasingly interested in that, and this is probably what we will focus today more. Definitely kind of AI, robotics, and all these deep tech things connected with military defense are up in the air, right? So you cannot notice this. So this is just like energy.
No, that's true. I think that is interesting because at Flashpoint we're doing that. Obviously, is one of the products we have on the platform, and I think with the Italian market, I feel like it's also fitting quite nicely because there are some larger players that are looking at more established companies, but also they, take longer. They're not necessarily set up for tech investing in terms of the, decision making on the transaction, but also in terms of size and like understanding of the risk. So that's where I definitely felt as well that like our approach and our product could be a good fit for some of these, up and coming Italian local companies as well.
No, true, true, true. Kind of while we were speaking to some potential LPs in our equity products, you can clearly see interest from startups, right? But you meet them definitely. They're there, and the interest is very big, especially in the product of like venture debt, growth debt that we do, with a size of 2 to 10 million euros, and this is something which is really missing, and which kind of should be there to ignite the economy. So I think that's definitely area where we should focus.
Yeah, and I feel as we've been going to Italy for the past 6 9 months, and with our focus, on more sort of Eastern European, Southern European markets, I feel like Italy, like squarely fits and matches a little bit this profile of some of these other markets where you see these up and coming ecosystems developing, where the markets are not necessarily big enough. There are some sizes for local basically ecosystem to develop, but where people are looking more outward. We're looking to develop internationally or going to the US market or more broadly in Europe. And that's where I, for example, also felt that we can be quite complementary to some of these companies. So I think that we come more and more to realization that Italy, is quite a good fit with what Flashpoint is doing, with different products, be it earlier stage equity or growth debt, or also focusing on secondaries, and we can be complementary, to some of these companies.
Yeah, well, the trend is obvious, right? You know better than me because you're more in investments. But like we've seen that in Eastern Europe, right? And we are seeing this more in Southern Europe increasingly, and more people kind of getting up to speed into a sort of global economy, right? But for us, I think to open that bottle of opportunity is definitely that, where we can get ourselves on the ground, right? Kind of help people to understand, help people to get financing, and slowly kind of get them to the sort of the new horizons where we see. Well, we basically have American market and Chinese market as like two biggest markets of liquidity, where things can be developed and I don't know, materialized on a bigger scale, right? Still, it's a beginning for Italy, given kind of the state of the ecosystem, but it's definitely there, and we can feel that from LPs and the startups. So I think we're in the right moment, in the right place.
Yeah, the other thing I felt that we have been developing our presence in the U.S. So we have opened the New York office recently, and I feel like our presence in the U.S. market could also be complementary and interesting for some of these companies thinking internationally and trying to explore U.S. as a potential market of presence where they want to sell or where they also like need to hire people, need to fundraise capital, or eventually exit and sell their company. It feels like there are not that many investors like Flashpoint with such footprint in terms of geography, but also this complementarity in terms of different types of capital we can offer, and the broader focus in terms of sectors, allowing us to provide expertise in different like verticals, different segments. So to me, that was also an interesting observation, because there are a number of local funds, a number of local, mostly seed funds, but there are not that many yet. European investors coming into Italy, or international investors that are not like even there yet. So that was that was an interesting observation there.
No, 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 definitely. And also, I noticed that they have a like specialization, like so they're focused on specific area. Some of these funds, and like really really pay a lot of attention and focus. And some of their companies actually have potential to work with us, and including debt. So it was like discussion basically, both regarding equity and debt. So it's quite interesting, even though kind of. I mean, there is no like, direct LP relationship, but people are keen to discuss and actually learn from us, because we are like Series A plus people, and they are pre-seed seed, so there's like logic. So I think that event and everything around that event is definitely very interesting, and it's a buoyant market. You can't ignore it, and I think this is a good beginning. So most likely we will. I mean, like we basically trying to do a couple of events like of educational character to speak to like CFOs and the founders, and show them and probably educate them more about non-dilutive financing, which is debt, right, and what you can do, and bring some successful case studies from US, like you just said.
What do you think about in general the like investors ecosystem in terms of potential like limited partners, and how Italian investors are looking at the asset class of like technology in general? Because my feeling was that there are a number of seed funds, and most investors are focused right now on basically personal relations with GPs they know from the past, or they're trying to basically do some direct seed deals, but there is not much yet like ecosystem or asset allocation approach in minds of like these investors. It's only like beginning in a way. So the way they look at diversification
Yeah.
is.
Well, it's a good question. Like first of all, it's a European Union, right? And you've got several public institutions, including Italy, which is basically throwing money into the system, trying to actually kind of make it more active. On one hand, on another hand, you have some kind of big multifamily offices, like very old money, which are basically hunting kind of opportunities, not just in Italy but outside, even sometimes like more outside than in Italy. So these are is it like big wells, like big brands and families, like in generations, let's say. And there are some new people, right? And then new people, again, new people, new money, high net worth entrepreneurs, and like smallish family offices who are probably more flexible and open to look what we're actually bringing kind of in terms of opportunities. So like three cases. Each of these kind of three segments are very interesting for us, because like as we get closer on the ground and do more in Italy, definitely we can tap those public markets that would like to be sort of kind of filtered on the ground through GPs like us. Like I'm talking about that, right? But there's also equity discussions, which is quite interesting, and it's not just Italy, right? So there are other countries as well, because with a similar approach, because probably it's just a growth point in my
Yeah,
opinion.
and I felt that it's also starting, it's developing. I felt a lot of dynamics, because we're traveling across Europe, like different markets, Germany, some other countries, Spain. I felt like in Italy there was like this like a lot of vibe that is coming up in the last couple of years. And I think you're right, supported by the government, GDP, obviously, they have like a very active program doing like 2, 3 funds a year, trying to bring like investors on the ground, which I think helps a lot to profile Italy. There were some events recently in Turin, Italy Tech Week, etc. So there's a lot of promotion. So it's actually interesting to see that a lot of these like family offices and, smaller I mean, there are not that many institutionals that are like out of Italy actively looking at things, but on the family office side, definitely I felt that there is like a lot of dynamics coming up, and people are quite open to start exploring like things much faster. There were some more conservative discussions we've been having across Europe.
Yeah.
It felt interesting.
No, indeed. Probably one thing I missed is like corporate venture arms as well. So there are very successful companies out of probably northern Italy who kind of deliberately kind of search for interesting opportunities, new softwares, kind of meeting new people. No borders, basically, right? And we already have these meetings kind of arranged, and definitely there will be a follow up. So that's something interesting. We see that in Germany and more developed, like in France as well, but they are more developed ecosystems, right? And nowadays, that as well, there's like Spain. We see there's now Italy, even Portugal, to some extent Greece. Like all these things are kind of start moving, and this is really encouraging.
All right. Well, was good chatting about our experiences. Looking forward to more trips like that,
No,
and
definitely,
hopefully
definitely.
the weather changes for the better.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So probably kind of just finalize. I think that is a very good opportunity to get on the ground and develop ecosystem with the help of other investors in Italy, and kind of in parallel, kind of there would be good conversations with potential peace. So yeah, agree. Thank
Perfect.
you.